Resident Evil 7 Biohazard.
Yeah.
So there have been a few updates. Twilight is the new, it's not the new demo, but it updated the beginning hour demo with there's a little more to see in the mansion that we saw from the first original incarnation of the demo. And then at Gamescom, I played the Lantern demo. And Rob, you recently yesterday went to Capcom to see the Lantern demo. Last week, you went to see the Lantern demo
I did.
With VR, PSVR, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think now that you've actually played it? Like, leaving aside the VR for now, what do you think of Resident Evil? As someone who I don't think is super into that series, right?
Sure, yeah. And this demo was very much different, right? You're playing along the lines of a cat and mouse, and you're being chased by one of those crazy Louisiana cannibal nut jobs.
Yep.
So
that's the stereotype we all know and love.
You're not taking any breathers in this demo. So I didn't get to have any of those like open world, or not open world, but like exploration elements of the other demos. But yeah, you're being chased the whole time, and very much a horror-esque vibe. I felt a lot of similarities to like, Alien Isolation, or even like Outlast.
Sure.
It was pretty gripping. I was into it.
Don't say PT though.
I will not. It's nothing like it.
It's a sore spot.
So the premise is the Lantern, I guess you could say, is this woman of that family. I forget the name of them, but they're
the Bakers.
Bakers, that's right.
Yeah.
And so she is just chasing you through this mansion, and you're going under floorboards, you're going between walls. She's got a lantern that is what you need in order to pick her out from the dim lit mansion. And yeah, it was pretty insane. I was into it. And probably more so with the VR.
Mm-hmm.
I did play it again without it, but the VR element really had me going. I mean, I'm one to like fall for jump scares and
here we go.
And
we are watching
chases.
footage right now of
I wish we could just run his
Rob's
audio.
jump scare coming up. This might not be it, but
I think we have some audio later on. But yeah, there's one moment where I freaked out. I mean, just to be in a immersed horror element where you're just like being chased and you have to go behind boxes and peek around. That's where the VR element like shined.
Sure.
And more so than anything else, I feel like, was being able to, you're kind of circumventing a box, and I'm looking in between the cracks of the box, and it helped. It was even like a plus to have that, because I could see her easier as I moved, opposed to like looking. I could still look. You have that freedom to kind of peer around smaller areas of sight. And yeah, of course, there's nothing like looking back and seeing this woman. I'm going to find you, running at you. God,
that's the thing. So obviously this is another flashback within the game. So this is not the main protagonist to be playing. This is like a VHS tape you come across. And the thing I found with this when I played it a couple months ago is that there weren't many jump scares. There's obviously the one you're talking about, and it does happen when you turn around and she's right there when you don't know it. Obviously the lantern kind of gives her away, but that's the point. It makes it a little more ominous. But it was just like a slow build of tension and dread that really drove this forward, because at a certain point you can solve like old school Resident Evil puzzles, but she's still this constant threat, kind of like the Nemesis if you played Resident Evil 3.
Actually, in this demo, I mean, I'm not going to vouch for the game or anything like that, but in the demo, actually, the one puzzle that they showed, it felt like actually that was a breather. Now I think about it, it kind of paused. You find the puzzle as she's chasing you, but then you go back to where the puzzle is applied, and then the game kind of breaks, and it's like a quick,
I thought she was
puzzle.
still like free roaming while you're solving it.
Nah, there was definitely, because the first time I did, I took forever actually. She definitely wasn't around, but yeah, those were kind of,
Did she catch you?
Yeah, a couple times.
Oh,
a couple times where I'm like trying to open a locked door. It was very much a path. It was on rails of where I was supposed to be going, but it was a little bit of a trial and error. So there's one door that she came out of that I imagined to go into, didn't open. And she turned around. There you are.
Yeah, she's got the key, because that's like one of the doors you can let her walk through, so you can get behind her, kind of, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But as someone who has not like Pete, I know you've played the series for a while, and you're really familiar with the series. As someone who's not particularly familiar with it, how does this, like, are you optimistic about this game? Because obviously we haven't played much more than that. We did see the trailer when they're actually showing like gunplay now and actual a little more. There's like this like policeman zombie in a garage, from what I remember. It was more of like a suburban setting that we saw there. So maybe that's part of the main game. I don't know if that's a flashback, but as someone who's not familiar with the series, does this kind of strike you as something that you'll want to jump into? Or is this something that's kind of, I mean, without nostalgia in play, what do you think of it?
I thought it was really fun. I mean, it makes me want to play all these other demos because what I'm hoping this game is it's bits and pieces of what they've been showing in different levels. Like it'd be cool to change a corner and then have this ride for a period of time. Like I like that idea.
Which is what it sounds like, because you find those tapes, right, that sort of put everything in that context.
Yeah, structurally it sounds like a cool storytelling mechanic. It's like the book Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk, or there are any number of frame stories where the main narrative contains these shorter stories in between. So I think they were saying some of those VHS tapes you come across will actually be related to the main protagonist. Others will just be these tangential things that kind of flesh out the bakers, for instance, or the house you're in, or the cabin you're in, the part of the marsh you're in. But that's what is really kind of pushing this game home for me as of now. It's going to be out in January, but right now I'm pretty optimistic because I think Resident Evil does need kind of a shot in the veins, especially following 6 as the last numbered entry, and then you played Umbrella Corps recently, which they removed the Resident Evil name from, but it was still a Resident Evil game.
It's like Metal Gear Survive, but Resident Evil.
Exactly. That was the segue I should have used. But that was not a good game. That was like a fast-paced 3v3 tactical shooter.
Shit show.
Yeah, so this is, they say they're trying to return to the horror roots with puzzles. The puzzle they showed in this one is very, I don't know, it was pretty, you'd have to be pretty oblique not to solve it. I don't know, it was pretty easy. But I don't know.
The demo felt like very much segmented. Again, it was just like, okay, puzzle time. Again, I'm curious to know how these all mesh, because I think there was something there. There was something cool about, you're underneath the floorboards and you find a note. There are bits of story that I'm definitely intrigued and I want to know more about. I just wonder how is that going to be delivered? Because that was the thing, is I wanted to explore, but you can't. You're being chased. So as long as there are successful ways of transitioning between this area, I guess you could say, okay, maybe I'll go back and play this section again, but I don't know. What I'm trying to say is, during these moments of where you're being chased, I don't know how on earth they could put these moments of okay, now you're able to look around and read a note or something like that. I just found it was hard to explore. Again, I just wonder how they're going to mesh all this together, I guess.
Yeah, this was definitely more of a set piece, kind of a very scripted thing. Because she was traveling along these certain paths, and then when she heard something, if you stood up and ran too fast, she would kind of chase you.
Right.
So I was, makes you crouch the whole time. And then you were saying you were kind of worried when you were under the floorboard, you were kind of hunching over. That was in the VR though.
Right. That was very cool. Yeah. Just inherently, you just wanted to crouch, because there was a lot of moments of claustrophobic vibes where it was like, oh God, this, she's definitely above me. When is she gonna come out and get me? It was cool. It was a fun little roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that's what I'm saying. The big mystery remains, and I think we'll be seeing more of it in the coming months before January. Because I think Capcom is pretty aware that people are worried they haven't seen much gunplay. So I think some people at Capcom were saying that's why they included it in the trailer recently.
People are worried about seeing the thing that they've said the series has too much of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they're saying okay, now it's not a Resident Evil game. It's just going off PT, and that's a sore spot because Resident Evil 7 was already in development before PT was ever a thing. And then, you have people like Kawada saying, no, this isn't something we're piggybacking off of. But Outlast 2 does the same kind of horror as well. So it's almost becoming this new, I don't know, this new trend in horror that's this first-person atmospheric, narrative-driven kind of, as opposed to the actual survival. But the new trailer in Resident Evil 7, that longer one that showed more survival elements, and they're talking about there's going to be the green herbs that for healing. There's going to be guns that you'll probably have to conserve ammo.
I mean, it really comes down to inventory management, right? That is the only aspect of survival that ever existed in Resident Evil, because you could find enough stuff, you just couldn't carry it all with you.
Yeah.
If they can get that down, if they can make the sense of discovery, think back to the original Resident Evil, right? When you finally solved enough puzzles and you unlocked a new part of the mansion or new section outside the mansion, that made all of the tedium of going in circles in that one area worth it, because then you really appreciated this new place. And again, the fixed cameras gave you a very strong sense of tension and atmosphere. If it can just do those three things, I think this game will be a good Resident Evil game, despite everything else that it does. I think those are the pillars that need to happen. So
do you think it'll be structurally set up kind of like a Metroid, where you're backtracking a lot and then to unlock these new areas?
I don't even want to say Metroid. No.
Well, obviously the more apt comparison is Resident Evil 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. Yes, I do think that if they are consciously trying to, yes, do something new, but do it in the framework of a thing that people have told them that they love and they want more of, it would behoove them to go back and really break down what made those games successful and why, and impart that knowledge into the new formula, as it were.
It's going to be interesting to see because you look at the pattern. It was like 1, 2, 3 were the third person fixed camera inventory management. Then 4, 5, 6 are much more third person action driven. You wonder if like 7, 8, 9. I don't know if like how long it's going to go, but you wonder if they're going to stick with this for a while until the next thing comes along, or whether Capcom knows what it's doing at this point or not.
There was a weird period of transition, I think, for gaming and especially international game development, where Japanese developers are trying to make games to suit the West, what they thought Westerners wanted, because our market is bigger and growing, where Japan is shrinking. And that's probably why we got a lot of those action games. I'm just guessing here. But it seems to be that was sort of the right time and place for them to do that sort of thing, or so they thought. I feel like those days are done. Like I feel like now they're almost starting from scratch, and looking to the past won't really inform us about where they're going. I think this game is really setting the future for the series, like the tone for it, and who knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I hope it's great. Like everything so far seems really promising. I haven't seen anything apart from a few like technical things related to VR, like crouching. I was told there's not really a transition. You just kind of like hard cut. That's really bad.
Nauseating.
Oh yeah, that's immediately a problem. If they can fix that stuff, cool. But this game seems like it'll be good outside of VR anyway. Like that's just sort of the icing on the cake, as long as it doesn't get rancid.
And that's the challenge, though, because like producer Kawada was saying at Gamescom that it's an obvious quote, like you're never going to please 100% of the people. But in this case specifically, you have those people that have been around since Resident Evil 1, 2, 3. I don't like, like the ones that people usually came on for were the
People
early
who are ready to
2.
walk away from the series.
There are people that are more excited for Resident Evil 2 remake because that's a sure. That's not even a sure thing because that's an entirely like remade game. Whereas like remake the GameCube game was already made by a team that worked on the original. But then you have the camp that was introduced with 4, which is an iconic like third-person action game. How do you kind of merge those two camps with 7? Do you have to? And how do you actually bring them into the present? And I know that the team is very cognizant of the fact that they're not going to do that completely. And I hope that they just don't worry about that much. And like definitely like convey the Resident Evil vibes that I'm looking for. Like you said, the inventory management, like that kind of getting a sense of space and ownership over this mansion or whatever you're going to be in, and then like the structure of it already. I guess like the bigger picture of things has yet to be seen. Hopefully we'll see more before January, but I don't know, like I'm optimistic about it, but I don't know. You said like the VR definitely exacerbated the tension of everything.
Yeah, and just hearing you guys talk makes me wonder, like, what does this like cat and mouse type of element, like how does it actually like transfer into the rest of the game? Like how can you hit up your inventory when you're constantly being chased?
Well, that's just it, right? It could be part of the whole cassette structure where this is just literally a slice, which I kind of hope. What an excellent opportunity to experiment with all sorts of different types of horror.
Yeah,
sure.
Right? They could just run the gamut of, these great sort of horror paradigms over the last few decades from film within this game, and like that, and gaming as well. And so I think that's how that's probably going to exist.
I mean, they're literally cassette tapes drawing the comparison to VHS, the movies. That I think there's 3, the found footage, and that's like. Those short stories contained on the tapes are these like not throwaway. Those are these like kind of ancillary segments that don't relate to the main game, maybe narratively, but mechanically they could be completely different, which would be awesome because then you get this little like bite-sized kind of breath of fresh air from like maybe the overarching kind of system you've figured out. And that's like what intrigues me most. And I hope they like really go for that structure.
What if some of them are like super lighthearted tapes where you're just like participating in like something before the chaos and the horror?
Maybe like like the Bakers before they became like the psychos that they showed in the trailer.
Pretty interesting.
Or maybe there's like one where like they just finished eating your legs and you are crawling the whole way out of the building.
That'd be great. That was just a 12-second segment of you trying to get out of the house.
Screaming, oh my legs.
We still don't know what that finger does in the beginning of our demo, the Twilight demo. You could put it on that hand, the mannequin figure, but like they keep saying there's a purpose of it, but it's probably just
picking
for
your nose.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Or that, or like kind of like plugging a hole in a wall. There's an axe as well. I think they include the axe just to hint that there's going to be weapons, but that's the most subtle hint ever because this is the first demo they ever released for the game, and I think it still is sitting like at the highest, most downloaded PS4 demo ever. It was at like 3 million last time we checked. It hit 2 million back in June. But yeah, I don't know. I'm very intrigued and excited about the game as a Resident Evil fan and as just someone who likes horror games in general. And on Outlast 2 being pushed back to what I believe is going to be after this now, that's kind of making the way for Outlast 2 a little easier, I would say. But anyway, cool. Let us know what you think about Resident Evil 7 Biohazard in the comments below. It'll be out in January 24th, I believe, for PS4, Xbox One, and PC.